first introduce you our panelists. So I'll start in this order. So Jordina Torrents. Jordina is I guess Jordina has gone through every university in Catalonia, right? Did her bachelor degree in Rovira Virgili, then a computer vision degree with us, right, in the Autonomous University, a PhD in Pompeu Fabra. Now you are teaching in the Open University, and I don't think, exactly, I don't think you have left any university. So she's a senior AI manager and principal AI architect in Hewlett-Packard, and she has been awarded with too many things to list, including the Google Women Tech Makers 2017 and the Catalan Premi Donatic Revelació 2018. Thanks for joining us. Lucas is the head of applied research in NXAI. So this is basically the spin-off from Lynch, from the group of Sepp Hochreiter, that is commercializing very, very interesting state-space model technology, right? And he's responsible for development of efficient foundation models and industrial AI solution in NXAI, and they have already quite a few interesting success stories to share. Isabelle, welcome. Isabelle is the founder and CEO of Sandborn and an investor, right? So which is an interesting dual point of view. Sandborn is a Swiss company, is a company builder actually, right? That helps entrepreneurs and corporates turn ideas into market-ready businesses. And she's also a strategic advisor for entrepreneurship at the ETH AI Center, right? Again, too many accolades to list them all, but she has been in one of the Switzerland's top 100 businesswomen and Forbes 30 under 30 at some point as well. So welcome. And last but not least, Eric, that doesn't need introductions because he has just been speaking for 20 minutes. So you know what he's doing. He's a co-founder and CEO of LogMeal and has successfully crossed from research to industry. And he had a chance to explain us what they do in LogMeal. Perfect. So trying to keep on time. Well, impossible, but anyway. Let me start with a very quick warming up, right? Because we want to speak about AI-driven innovation. And I would like to know, because there's lots of things happening, right? Do you have one concrete example of AI-driven innovation that you have seen during this last year that you think actually matters, is not hype, is real? Anybody wants to take it off? No worries. Jordina.
Yep. Yes, I have both. So one of the things I think that it's a huge innovation, I'm just happy to work on that, is AI at the edge, right? So we are thinking about all these kind of huge foundational models, which are working really nice in terms of reasoning capabilities and going through the general artificial intelligence. But I think that moving all this science, right, at the edge is a key point as well, right? How you can manage the hardware, the layer of the software, which is AI, and the layer of the hardware, the CPU, the GPU, and the neural processing unit. I think that that's amazing. It's a complex area, but I think that during the next years, 30-50% of the models that we are working on will be running at the edge.
On the edge. AI on the edge. Anything else?
I think I can only second that. So we're seeing the very same in all our company projects. Basically, everything needs to be on the edge, on the shop floor, needs to be on-prem, needs to be without cloud access or in GDPR setups. So I think this is really some trend I can fully support here. What I also really like to see is that we are seeing now some hybrid architectures coming up also for language modeling. So it's not only pure transformers, but like you look at Qwen and so on. So it's a mixture of state-space models and transformers that are coming up. So like the architecture harness is breaking up, let's say, and we will see new innovation there. So that's I'm looking forward to.
Nice, thanks. Isabelle.
Yeah, I'm excited to be in a room with exactly what we're looking for at the moment. I mean, I just got off a call with one of our EPFL startups, Adaptive Bio, that is working also on biotechnology and molecule development, and they're taking off. And I also think there's some really interesting startups like Accelerate that is working on the shop floors. So like exactly what my colleagues are talking about, exactly what you all are researching in is where we believe the next moat is. And so I'll be happy to talk about it today.
Thank you. Eric?
Well, they almost said everything, no? There's nothing just to, obviously, we need to just go down because cloud and cloud computing is a huge cost for for a startup, for a company. But in some cases, you have to replicate that model. That's why we're using cloud. American companies, they want to have American servers. European companies, they want to have European servers. They want to, all of them, to comply in the GDPR, the HIPAA compliance, everything. So in that case, the edge computing will be the next step, is the next step. We need to make this affordable, but as well for the companies to get access to that server, that model that it's on the client house to make improvements, updates, etc., etc. So it's about infrastructure. In some cases, you spend more time doing this IT infrastructure instead of having everything done in 2 seconds when you replicate to your cloud computing provider. That could be, the name inside.
So you all agree that we need more control, make it local, put it on the edge, make sure
Yeah,
it's small, and also play with it.
And actually, some healthcare that industry is requesting to have everything in-house. They don't want to have this possibility to have any security problem that they could just compromise the health records from their patients. And this is very important. Cool. But obviously nowadays it's quite difficult because request companies to have maintenance IT department locally in different cities. That's quite impossible or affordable because you have to charge this to the client. So we are dealing with the IT department from those clients that they could reboot the computer, or they could just make some improvements and give you access to that IP address or whatever it is. So this is one of the tricky things that it takes time. It seems simple for us when you come from the IT side. It seems simple, but it takes time.
Nice. Perfect. Thanks a lot. I think that we're aligning a bit on the needs there. I'd like to speak a little bit about the path from research to product, to create some meaningful innovation. So let me start again with Jordina. You're in a multinational company, right? So I was wondering, inside Hewlett Packard, you have a radar, I guess, to figure out what research is happening. You have your own research. So what is your filter? How do you decide what makes it into products and what doesn't?
Yeah, that's the tricky question, right? So, and I think that there is more or less the same vision across several big companies. Like we are just working with AMD, Intel, Microsoft, and all these kind of things. And for us, the most important stuff is the customer value, right? So this is the first label that you need to put when you have a big company, or at least a team inside a big company, right? You need to ensure that the product that you want to put into production has some value, and value in terms of you are reducing the latency of certain processes, you are just improving a workflow, you are improving the quality, you are automating something. So this is the first thing we need to take into account. And then other kind of things happen, right, related to organization and how we can scale AI. So for instance, what I can say from my team, it's split in different parts, right? So what I have is a huge research core, people who is just doing investigation on next algorithms that can just emerge or can be useful in the future, like he was saying, status-based models or hybrid architecture, all these kind of things, retention networks. So this is one of the stuff. Then what we have is the applied scientists, right? So all the things that were working fine on the research stat, we are moving that into production, taking into account that there is a customer value behind, right? So one of the main challenges I found on this kind of transition is that most of the time, there is a lot of research in AI right now, right? And one of our job is just to take the open source research that all these kind of people is doing, right? And just testing it in detail in-house, right? And several things happen here. Most of the time you want to replicate the paper, you want to just integrate really nice architecture beyond transformer in the device or something like this, and you realize that this is not working as expected, or at least this is not scaling, right? So one of the things that we did, and I was pushing a lot when I joined the team, is just to create a super robust evaluation framework, right? So every time a new model comes to the state of the art, like for every company, like Google, Gemma 4, right? Alibaba, Quen, and all these kind of things. We are just picking those models. We're passing those models through the evaluation framework, where we have a lot of auto raters there, and we are evaluating the real performance for those models in terms of quality and responsible AI for our use cases, right? So this is the first thing we did. Once they pass, and the research team is saying that this is working fine, we put that into production. And then many things happen as well. Scalability which is the biggest issue, right? Latency, memory, KV cache, and all these kind of things just explode, right? And you need to solve that in a way. There is a lot of research here on how to scale algorithms that work fine on the state of the art, but then you need to put that into production, right? So that's the main things I want to highlight, right? So that's a huge challenge. I can explain more, but maybe
Very insightful. During lunch, you have time to explain much more. Lukas, so at NXAI, which is a spin-off from the University of Linz, you recently had your own spin-off, right? Which was called NXAI. That was actually recently acquired by Mistral, which is a meta thing, right? So what are the dynamics between NXAI, the university, and your spin-offs, and how does this work?
You're correct. It looks like a little. I mean, it's great for us, and it's great to see that finally, let's say, a European AI company is buying a European AI company, and I would love to see that more often. So it's actually a great signal for Europe that something like that is happening. So NXAI is not the typical AI startup, I would say. So as I said, it's like a spun off from Sepp Hochreiter, the inventor of LSTMs, and it basically. The mission is to bring out an alternative architecture to transformers based on the initial idea of LSTMs. And the start off was with, let's say, two research fields. That was XLSTM and there was physics transformed simulation, so physics AI. And this is the part that Emmy basically was off. So this was, let's say, a little separated directions. And we thought, well, it makes sense to also separate the companies. That is the reason why NXAI spun off Emmy AI last year. And then we sold, but it exited it within 1 year, so it was quite fast. So we are super happy that this went out that good and that actually Mistral bought Emmy. And this is only possible because of the closeness of, let's say, our company to university and the whole ecosystem that we have in Upper Austria. So university is very close to companies. So students can directly get access to companies. Companies can get access to students. The talent pool is very big, and this is of course due to Sepp's presence, because like Sepp is some kind of a magnet to students too, and all the other great professors there like Günter Klambauer. Right now, it's actually one of the largest AI studies in Europe that is happening in Linz, so that's attracting a lot of talent, and that's giving us also a lot of possibilities to work with exactly those guys.
So your feeling is that this MEAI would be more difficult to create directly from the university. It was beneficial to have an XI as a link, no, in the middle?
I think so. That it showed that the traversion from science, which is very important. Like we see ourselves as a deep tech foundational research lab, so science is in our core. But we see that this step out of the university into, let's say, a company setting, that definitely helped to get the, let's say, all the products, all the topics, all the algorithms to a certain level that then could be moved to a different company or could be led to an exit.
Interesting. Thanks. Isabelle, so I have a feeling that the democratization of AI tools has made everybody an AI expert lately, right? So if you believe your latest YouTube adverts, you can make your app in 10 minutes, and then sell it. So as an investor, do you think that we have too many startups with very shallow technology? And is there a benefit if everybody is now creating a startup like this to have researchers and technologies arising from research, in the loop, or what? Are we relevant?
Well, I think the question if an AI wrapper company is good or not is a very superficial one. We all can answer yes, it's not a good idea to do that because you're just going to be redundant very, very fast. But I think the problem that we have to address very centrally in this room, I do not doubt any of your research to be the state of art. I do not doubt any of your research to have some level of marketability. What we struggle with Europe-wide is that we have a lack of people that want to do entrepreneurship and do not know how to execute. So in my experience, I always, when a founder comes my way and says, this is a real story. A founder came my way and says, hey, Isabelle, I want to found a döner shop. I'm like, döner? So there's a lot of them in Switzerland, probably Austria as well. Well, he turned and I was like, are you serious? You want to build a döner shop? And we're not even talking about deep tech. I said, okay, go for it. And I helped him a bit. And it became the most profitable döner shop that I know in Zurich. So my point to all of you in the room is we need execution power. We don't need deep tech because we have it in the room. You have to learn how to execute and find product market fit and be even able to sell it. And there's a lot of people in Europe that can help you. And that's also where we can talk about the AI Launchpad, because we need to push you all to have some understanding on how to do entrepreneurship and do business. So join any of Demos's courses. And then also to have, you can partner with companies like Hewlett Packard and also learn to how to not just take your research to be like a side project of Hewlett Packard, but really to be a mainstream technology that you can then scale within Europe. Because within Europe, we have a big market. I mean, there's 450 million users. But what we also have to look at is deregulate so that you can move faster or have easier market access. But I'll talk about that a bit on why we have the AI Launchpad set up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks. So speaking about execution, Eric, as a university spin-off that you actually had to actually walk the path from the university to the creation of the company, what was the most difficult step?
Well, for example, this prize, the metaphor, the CPVR, it's not about the prize by itself. It's trying to solving a bottleneck that it's something that it's the daily basis of a healthcare industry. No, it's not about, as I said, no, to recognize a dish. It's about to quantify the amount of dish that is on that plate. That means it's not the same 100 grams apple that 200 grams apple. It's not the same that I have a whiskey or a couple of glasses of whiskey. Obviously, I will be completely drunk. I don't drink at all. So, and this is about that, yeah, from the state of art, the technology, from research and development, university, and when you jump to the market, you guys, well, all of you said, no, and Jordina was explaining deeply her daily basis, it's quite interesting to understand what is the bottleneck, how you could address and solve that problem, and to feed having feedback, right? And I'm, tired to listen leads and clients say, no, ChatGPT does. Yeah, it does, obviously. But when it says that in that picture, there's a hamburger and French fries, you could say no. Yeah, I will say no. But ChatGPT says that he has 85% of confidence about that. There is a hamburger and French fries. And I would say no, 0%.
Yeah.
So, and finally, there was something from the sales department that we decide to say, okay, let's go for implement ChatGPT API to know that the results are not good, but at least for just letting and just to request the same images to ChatGPT and to our models to have results and to show to clients. And okay, it's their decision. If they want to go for those generic models that provide some information, good for them. But if they want something that we really trust to understand that could help, we are not perfect. We have an accuracy and we provide some solutions, but we're not perfect.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. So let's speak a little bit about ecosystem, right? So not about the company itself, but where the context in which it is born, right? So in your case, Jordina, you are working in Catalonia, but you are in a multinational, so I guess that you have access to a number of different places, right? So how does the Catalan ecosystem compares to global AI hubs that you work with?
Yeah, that's a tricky question, right? And it has some geopolitics that I will open some of them, but that's a huge conversation, right? So how I see Catalonia or Barcelona in general, right? So I guess that we are in a good position, let's say, in Europe and in this kind of tech AI landscape, right? We have a lot of super good startups, right? We have a lot of talent research that we are doing, and this is something that we need to take advantage of, right? But what I see outside, right, Europe. So I would define first Catalonia like an emerging hub of technology, let's say like this, because if we compare what's happened, right, in terms of talent, I think that we are more or less in the same place, right? Let's say like this. There is a lot of research that it's super good coming from here, but I guess the key points here is that scale and density, right? If we compare Catalonia with other kind of technological hubs, right, like Silicon Valley, Boston, or Shenzhen in China, right, what we can see here. In Boston, we can see that there is a lot of movement between universities and deep tech companies. We have MIT, we have hardware there, right, which is a good cycle of managing the gap that we have between research and companies. What we can see in Silicon Valley, that's we can see a lot of investors, we can see a lot of deep tech, we can see many things there, right? And what we can see in China, right? I was traveling to China last year and I was super impressed, right? More than I expected. So we have hubs like Shenzhen, Hangzhou, where they have a lot of capabilities on production, on moving AI and scaling that really fast. And they are just going to the state of the art as well, really fast. So we did not replicate this kind of model, right? Because we are different. We are in Europe. We have other kind of things like talent, responsible AI that we can move forward. But we need to think about which is our position in all this kind of ecosystem, right? And I think that Europe does not define this very well right now. From my point of view, I think that we need to, we did not replicate the same environment, right? We need to think on maybe a specialization like Taiwan or Japan was doing in some kind of technologies so that we can provide our just seat into all this kind of ecosystem. But that does not mean that Catalonia cannot be a super good hub, right? And this is one of the reasons I'm here, right? I did not jump to Palo Alto in HP, but yeah, I think that we need to think carefully on which kind of position we need to adapt here. And I think that the specialization, it's a key point, as well as how we move research to production, right? Because this gap is in most of the hubs that exist right now.
Great. I keep scale, density, and specialization.
Yeah, I think that the scale and density is something, it's like a differentiation between the other hubs that I mentioned in Catalonia, right? The talent, I think that we are quite good here. And the specialization can be one gap that we can empower, right? Because the point is in which kind of areas we want to be specialized. That's the point. That's another conversation, right?
Thank you. Great. Let me jump to Eric. What does the ecosystem here that you have lived and grown in has done well, and where is it lacking?
I'm convinced that we have a lot of talent here. We have really good startups. Government and companies it's quite difficult in some cases to be open for a piloting. We could do a piloting, but what's next after this pilot, right? It's quite interesting that you have more offers for doing and for piloting outside from Spain, from Catalonia, than from here. That means, in some cases, I will say that we are stupid. We're trying to find talent outside from here when we have the solution here. Why we don't invest in someone that is here instead of looking outside? You will save time, money, and you could even talk the same language. So after piloting, there's a gap with procurement. This is the gap, procurement.
Okay.
So it takes time. There's a lot of bureaucracy, whatever is it. We are on the healthcare system. It's easy to go to a private company instead of the public company, on the public and government. It's very easy in that case. If someone wants, they say, okay, how much does it cost this? So our strategy, for example, is just, obviously it's not scaling so much, but it's providing some monthly recurring revenue that it's going for professional elite athletes in that case. Soccer, basketball, UC prosiding teams, etc. Why? Because if they really trust on that, they pay for the solution. And not they only pay for the first team or the second team, they pay for the academy as well. Because they create this culture. But it's about, as I said, in my opinion, it's procurement. It's something that you could not go next and forward in some cases because you don't have an analysis, the risk analysis about that, where will be store these data in which server, what are the procedures about this. And this could take 2 months. You fill in 1 month, but the reply from the responsible from that organization could take 2 months.
Pretty clear. Pretty clear. You want early adopters that move to full adopters in a much more streamlined way.
Yeah, that's the point. Just to add one thing, what he's saying. At the beginning, to build a company here, it's super difficult, more than in any other country, right? And that's something that I wanted to highlight. Because there are many people that here maybe wants to build a company, and it's super, super difficult to find the money, to find the right help for that. It's not a country that is helping this kind of really nice people to build new companies, right? And that's something that I was just leveraging when I just traveled to Palo Alto, or maybe I just traveled to China, right? So the government is putting also a lot of money there, and the private investor as well. So it's procurement, it's also
And
the
based on that, I trust, and they're doing very well, the Catalonian government, because it's expanding and showing all the talent across the world. It's doing very well. But in my opinion, in some cases are better marketers than investors.
But I don't think the government has to solve this problem. I mean, I'm a big fan of deregulations, but I do agree that we need more companies to take this deep tech science seriously, more faster to do.
Yeah.
So that after one follows through Jordina's pipeline, there's a broadband implementation. I think this is something where SMEs in Europe are just a bit more fearful of implementing technology. So if any of you don't build a startup, that's fine. If any of you end up in an SME, try to also make sure that tech adoption happens faster and on a broadband, because that would help your life a lot.
I totally agree. We see the very same thing. If it's a big company or small company in Europe, like the speed of adoption to new technologies and innovation, they are very driven by risk assessments, as you said. Like everything needs to be assessed by risk, and makes in a certain amount of sense. But like we are in the AI business, right? The business is super fast. Like if you're not keeping up the pace, you basically left out any 2 days or whatever. So it's speed that we need, and of course we need support, financial, but also of course from science, and that's the thing we are at least a little missing. We were
Nice.
Sorry, I was moving the conversation.
No. That was a very, very interesting discussion.
Life easier.
Thanks a lot. No, that was very, very insightful. Well, moving back to Isabelle then, since you're close to your microphone. So you're running the AI Launchpad, right? Which the aim of which is, double quote, to unite the continent's top AI hubs through one coordinated platform. Right. Well, this sounds very promising, right? And very complex at the same time. So could you shed some light on?
Yeah, so we're part of the ELLIOT consortia, and the idea was that we have to help deep tech startups accelerate faster within Europe. And one thing that we're struggling with, and I don't think it's a Swiss or Catalonian problem, is that our deep tech founders, they manage to find small scale product market fit, but when it goes to scaling, they have problems. And the problem is that although Europe has a big addressable market, like of 450 million, we have like 27 jurisdictions. So what happens just in daily ETH life is our really good startups, they move out of Switzerland. We have like one of the biggest, best defense startups. I know popular opinion, deep tech and defense is kind of topic for Europe as well. Just had to move right next to the Pentagon because in Switzerland we couldn't by regulation hold it. So the idea that we had, that we also brought into the Alliance Union, was that all of our hubs have really strong facilitation programs like yours, Demos, right? So what happens when you guys hit the market and you want to actually enter a new market? You should talk to Demos. So for all of the startups that are not from Barcelona and Catalonia, if ever you want to come to this region, you should call him, right? And that's what AI Launchpad is about, is that you need to focus on building the best of class tech and finding product market fit fast, and you need experts to help you navigate 27 regulations fast. And you can do this towards coordinating over our LS hubs, over Elias hubs, over ELLIOT hubs, the people that know something about entrepreneurship. That's how AI Launchpad was born for when you want to enter different markets within Europe. And the coordinative facilitators of each hub select you to send out into a different hub. So in that sense, it's like a free mover exchange program for startups. What we notice is the bottleneck at the moment is not that we have all our program managers that can host you. It's that either you as a startup have to finance your travel yourself, or we have to find, again, subsidies for travel. But that's the AI Launchpad. I think we have to strengthen these networks, and it has to, again, be quite coordinated. So I'm happy that we set it up. I think we're now on our 4th batch, and we're going to start the 5th batch next spring, and we're running it and continuing it. Hopefully, this is a shout out. I see Matthias in the room. One day we have within Ellis an entrepreneurship coordinative programs where we can also help you PhD and postdocs travel and execute your ideas more easily.
Amazing. You're creating a lot of work for me.
Yeah.
And
No.
Rafa will leave 1 more million next year. So speaking about internationalization, then let's go back to Lukas. So from Austria to Europe to the world, right? You're already kind of creating spin-offs and you're selling them and you're trying to walk the path towards other international markets. I know the answer, but let me ask you, how would you describe the ecosystem in Austria, and what is your experience with internationalization? Do you have a unified AI ecosystem in Europe, or every country is still different, or what?
That's a good question. I mean, Austria is like also like Catalonia, very small, so it's not like a big ecosystem, but the ecosystem knows each other. So like we have excellent universities, we have like excellent companies, like worldwide leading companies that are doing the business out of Austria. But in the end, we will never solve the whole business thing alone. So we won't stand alone, or we can't stand alone. So what we will need, or I think we will need, is some kind of a joint European stand up to bring our technologies into the markets. And then that means that Europeans support European technology. So not only taking like US and Chinese technology, but also looking into European built, European sovereign technology and supporting this way. And I think if we do that, there's also new options in terms of keeping talent, or building new talent, building new startups. So this is also something we see. We build up a lot of great talent, which we then lose to all the hubs all around the world, because like it may be faster there. I mean, of course, payment is a topic and so on and so forth. But if we can build up an ecosystem that has all this like excellent science, very interesting deep tech startups, the possibility to found startups, as you said, like also the legal and the financial framework to do something like that in Europe, then I think we can build something that thrives and that we all can benefit from. But I don't think we are there yet.
Maybe to build on to Lukas, I mean, if you ask yourself in the room, who would like to stay in Catalonia or where you are hosted now? Who would like to build and stay for work in Europe if it's possible? Just raise of hands. So I would say, it's maybe a 50-50 percentage. So I think by default, we don't lose founders to other markets that want to stay. if we give them the availability that they can stay. And I think even these founders are willing to go through a few more loops. So when you come across this problem, Lukas, I think it's very interesting that you're setting up these networks and also facilitating this more actively. And I almost had a question to Lukas. How did you actually get Emmy sold to Mistral? Because what I love is like that you build this exit community. Because through strong exit communities is where all the financial backing came from originally from Silicon Valley. And this is what we need to do. So I'm just curious how that happened. You must... Okay, good.
To be honest, I cannot actually answer it.
Okay.
I mean,
Can you speak a bit closer to the microphone?
Sorry, yeah, because Emmy was then like already exited, like startup, a spin-off from ourselves, from NXAI. So like the whole process of exiting was, let's say, not in my visibility. That's something you would need to ask our CEO, I guess, and he could tell you directly what this could be, what happened. Yeah, but I guess it was a lot of talks, and it was also the view into the future that this systems, that stuff that Emmy is building, it's going to be important for also the roadmap of Mistral, where Mistral is going. And latest physical AI is a huge topic, and it basically paid directly onto their roadmap. And I think that was one of the things. And on the other side, I'm pretty sure they also wanted to have the talent that is basically covered within Emmy.
Thank you very much. I think we covered a lot of ground. Let me see if we can turn the lights on. Let's see if there is any questions from the audience for any of our panelists. Are there any questions? In the meantime, maybe I can ask an open question to whoever wants to answer. So, given the situation that you just described that we have in Europe, if you had 100 million, or I don't know, make it up, 500 million, whatever you need to invest in the European AI ecosystem, where would you invest? What would you change?
That's to be the first.
And in the meantime,
I need 0 billion. I need 0 million. I need political will to deregulate that we can move faster. I know we need safety in AI as well, but I think Europe is losing there. And then infrastructure.
deregulation. Okay. Any other? You agree? Any other?
Yeah, I think that Europe's challenge is it's not invention, it's conversion, right? It's like moving research to products and moving products to global companies. And here we have two gaps that maybe we can invest some money on that, right?
I wanted to say the same actually, to bring AI in adoption, to adopt AI in European settings, to bring it into the people, to really make it usable. I think that would be something that, like, to be basically Europe be the best customer of the AI companies from Europe. It's something like that.
It seems like everybody come up with ideas that we need that are actually €0 ideas, right? It's mostly a matter of shifting mentalities than putting money somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe it could be a challenge based on procurement for hospitals, companies, etc.
Well,
I will allocate 50 million. From the 100 millions, I will allocate 50 million.
to LogMeal in particular.
Yeah, obviously for, to become first customers on Europe for using the AI solutions in that case, no? And then based on that, maybe 30 million that will be on sharing computer and high quality domains and data and testing infrastructure. And then the last 20 million on scaling up. Very important.
But I think 30 million on computer. I mean, this is basically a drop on a hot stone, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes and no. I have this, again, unpopular opinion that the race of foundational models is not yet won because AI is here to stay. So we did a Pertus and it was like a drop on the hot stone, but maybe some of you have played around with it, right? GPUs at the right time were installed by the government. So thank you, government. That we could run compute on. So please, also for those that are doing multimodal foundational models, keep on doing it. It's like we're in a long run game here. So that's why I said I'll bet my 100 million on that and ask the politicians to do their job.
Maybe in the future, we will see someone in a plane just having their computer with a power bank, or those we use for, for leads or for drilling or whatever is it, in order to provide power to a GPU that will be like a small computer providing and doing this
On the
test.
Yeah.
I'm convinced.
So I agree that we need some infrastructure, but there's a lot of algorithms like QAT, eternally models that are working super good, and you don't need huge amount of GPUs to train that properly, right? So yeah, and I will invest some money on him, right? Because I think that the next company that he will build will be related to procurement rights. Because there is a huge gap here.
It's a huge.
Maybe we didn't say this clear enough, but I think there's a large investment opportunity on startups that you're all working on because we need it's really easy to move like on AI wrappers, but it's really hard to move in deep tech that has in highly regulated markets and also like in robotics. I saw there was one presentation on that you were training the model to do. I'm sorry, I came in late, but it was like a Vision's robotics company. So a lot of you that are working in these deep tech, physical, I don't know, I didn't see any optics startups. Like we're invested a lot in optics startups as well. So if you're working on these multimodal things, keep on doing your thing. I think there's a lot of value creation that will happen in there, and your moat is huge.
Amazing.
The last thing that I want to add for that discussion panel, it's quite interesting how our technology that we provide, for example, for food recognition is jumping to another industry, that is, for example, canteens and service restaurant.
Yeah.
Now, big companies, they have, in some cases, they have up to 20 or 25 canteens for employees.
Yeah.
Employees that they allocate 3,500 employees per shift. And if they have to add 5-6 employees only for charging them, it's quite not stupid, but in the first step, they think that we're going to replace those employees for that. And it's something that the company didn't like it. Now, industries like automobile in Germany, etc., they're considering this as a must, as a need, because they have Chinese that they're doing everything properly and selling more cars.
Cool.
So it's
I
really
think with that, we reach our limit of 40 minutes for the panel. I know there is loads of interesting questions to be discussed. We will be outside in the lunch. If there is any question from the audience, it would be very nice to get it. Yes, there's one there. Let's get one quick question.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you for the discussion. It was very insightful to hear all the problems that you identify, like the bureaucracy, the disconnection between countries, and so on. So my question is, in your experience, how optimistic are you about Europe doing it right? If you look 10 years ahead, do you think that we can get to the dream situation that we're talking about here?
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm a diehard optimist and I'm investing all my time and money in Europe. So I'm very optimistic that we can get it right. And I think, despite what we said, I think the power is still that we execute on it and that the founders that stay within Europe and scale within Europe, that you also take on some extra challenges to do so. But I think 10 years from now, if we start now, it's better late than never.
Great. Well, let me thank the panelists again. Thank you very much for joining this.